Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Blake Damon here with another Sims 4 update. As most of you already know, the Sims 4 High School Years is coming out later this week. And before every game pack that's released, there's always an update that happens a couple of days beforehand. It always has something new for us Simmers to play and use. And in this case, it's all about sexual orientation. So let's go through this article called Sexual Orientation in The Sims 4. New update to feature sexual orientation in Create a Sim. So apparently this update was talked about in the Sims 4 Live that they had when they were showing off the High School Years pack. But this article goes in depth, while in the live stream apparently they only just touched on it a bit. Sexual orientation in The Sims 4. Hi folks, I'm Sim Guru Jessica, the design lead on the Sims 4 High School Years expansion pack. Today I'd like to talk to you about the upcoming sexual orientation feature that will be available in the next base game update. Apparently Sim Guru Jessica was in the live stream and she was the one that was mostly talking about this new feature. And as you've read there, this sexual orientation feature is actually available in base game, so you won't have to buy the High School Years pack in order to get this feature, which is good news. We love free things, past, present, and future. As a team, we hold creativity, discovery, inclusivity, and play as core values and strive every day to celebrate diversity, equity, and inclusion for our people and community. With that in mind, we're delighted to bring the sexual orientation feature to all Simmers. Between this update and the recent pronouns update, we're taking several strides forward into being a game that respects and celebrates the nuance and color of everyday life. So this little intro paragraph is them basically saying that they're moving forwards, trying to be more inclusive and diverse, which is a good thing. We love that. It is important to acknowledge that these are steps in a journey that we are still mapping out. There is much further to go, and while I can't get into the details of where exactly we go next, please know that we are committed to continuing to improve our representation of the LGBTQIA+ community. I feel like this is a little disclaimer saying that they probably haven't figured everything out. So if you are disappointed in this update, there's probably more coming out in the future. Looks like Sim Guru Jessica can't quite get into those details, but it looks like good things are to come. Authenticity is a point that often comes up in regard to features like this, and rightly so. As such, I'll try and peel the curtain back a bit and speak to our efforts in making sure we got this right. Many members of the team, myself included, are part of the LGBTQIA+ community. That said, each one of us on the team represents only a narrow slice of lived experiences. As such, we've worked extensively with GLAD and the It Gets Better project to ensure that we've captured the widest possible range of viewpoints on how to approach this feature in a manner that respects and elevates the community. So I guess what they're trying to say here is they're trying to be more transparent in what they've done to make this feature inclusive. So apparently they've worked with GLAD and It Gets Better project, two very good non-profits. So apparently GLAD is an American non-governmental media monitoring organization. That was a mouthful. It was founded as a protest against defamatory coverage of gay and lesbian people. GLAD actually stands for Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. Looks like they've done a heap for the community. So back in the 1980s, there was this whole thing about AIDS and HIV and how it's like wiping out the gay community only, and it's like a punishment from God and blah, blah, blah. And of course, news and media latched onto that like leeches. So GLAD actually put the pressure on the New York Post against the defamatory and sensationalized AIDS coverage, which was homophobic to say the least. So we have them to thank for that. And the It Gets Better project, according to Wiki, is an internet-based non-profit with a mission to uplift, empower, and connect lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer youth around the globe. This was founded apparently in response to suicides of teens who were bullied because they were gay or because their peers suspected that they were gay. And its goal is to prevent suicide among the LGBT youth by having gay adults convey the message that these teens' lives will improve. And yes, it truly does get better when you get older. I feel like the world is becoming a better place for inclusivity and diversity. I mean, it's not perfect, but we're getting there. And now we get to the meaty part, how it works. With sexual orientation, you'll be able to assign a series of attraction parameters for your sim. Pictured below is how the sexual orientation feature will appear in Create a Sim. So this looks like the Create a Sim area. Looks like you can find this new feature underneath the plumb bob and then these dots, and it'll be a new tab. So we have the gender tab there, but we have a new tab and it says sexual orientation. So we have some headings under this tab. This sim is romantically attracted to, this this sim is exploring romantically, and this sim is interested in messing around with. And it looks like these titles will be explored further down in this article. So fear not, if it's confusing right now, it'll all get better as we go through the article. So my sim is attracted to. This is a simple affirmative statement of who your sim is attracted to. If a sim whose gender does not match your sim's attraction settings attempts a romantic interaction with your sim, they will be rejected. Oh, that's sad. Kind of makes sense because in real life, if you're not attracted to a woman and she tries to hit on you, of course you're going to reject them, and vice versa. You can check any combination of attraction boxes, including all or none, to reflect your sim's romantic orientation. Further down the line, we'll be able to expand this to include additional gender identities that we don't have at this time. I find it interesting that you can actually check a combination of boxes, so it's not necessarily you're attracted to a man or a woman. You can be both attracted to a man and a woman, or neither, which is pretty cool. I like that. I understand that there will be concerns here around the initial options being gender binary. Mechanically, non-binary sims don't yet exist in The Sims 4. While we made great progress in representing non-binary sims in the pronouns update, we acknowledge that pronouns are not the same as gender identities. We recognize that we still have a ways to go in this regard. I'll cover more in the frequently asked questions. It's a good thing that they included this paragraph in there because, yeah, gender identities are a spectrum, and unfortunately they only have two options for you to pick, men and women, but it looks like they're making steps towards fixing this. My Sims is exploring romantically. This setting controls whether or not your Sim's sexual orientation can shift through gameplay. There are two major stories we wanted to capture with this setting. So I think we're going on to the middle one now. So this sim is exploring romantically, and you have the option of ticking yes or no. Apparently, if you pick yes, that means that your sexuality might change while you're playing the game, which is pretty cool because it's very much like life. You might think you're one thing as you're growing up, and then as you get older, you realize you're another thing. It happens. The first is a story of a person who's figured out who they are and has a firm and immutable sense of who they're attracted to. This is reflected by Sim, who is not exploring romantically. Sims set to no for exploring will not shift orientation through gameplay and firmly reject advances from genders they aren't interested in. The second story is about a person who's still figuring things out. Sims with exploring set to yes will still have an initial sexual orientation setting per the previous step, but it can change through gameplay. As your sim experiences romantic interactions, they may find themselves in a very different place than where they started. So if you have your exploring set to yes, what you're attracted to may change. So this sounds like if you're making a sim and you make their romantically attracted to option as women, for example, but then have the exploring romantically set to yes, this will actually change through gameplay. I think that's an interesting idea and something that I'm glad they actually included. And that's actually amazing because it's actually like real life. Growing up in a very straight orientated world, surrounded by your straight friends, you might think you're straight, but then as you grow up, you grow older, you explore, you discover who you are, and you might realize that you might not be the person you thought you were. And I like that. It's pretty interesting. It's very real. My sim is interested in woohoo with. Oh god. Okay, this setting determines who your sim can woohoo with. If you're trying to tell a story of an asexual sim, you could leave all options unchecked. On the flip side, you could tell the story of an aromantic sim by selecting woohoo interests, but leaving all romantic attraction boxes unchecked. More on this in the frequently asked questions. So this part of the feature deals with only woohoo, which makes sense because you can have like a physical relationship with someone, but not necessarily be romantically inclined to them, because woohoo and relationships, like romantic relationships, are two very different things. You could be attracted to someone just for the sake of woohoo, but not really be in love with them, if that makes any sense at all. You can also tell even more specific stories, such as a sim who might be attracted to multiple genders, but only interested in physical intimacy with one. Wow, this feature is very real. Like, I mean, of course, it's not complete yet, but what they've added so far is very real life, and it's is kind of scary in a good way, in the fact that it's very much like real life, that it's like not a game anymore, I guess. So frequently asked questions. Do I need to own Sims 4 years to use sexual orientation? No, absolutely not. Sexual orientation will be available to all Simmers upon the release of high school years. So yes, it's going to be in a free update. You don't have to get high school years. You just have to update your game and it'll be there. Why are there only 2 gender options? This is a natural question to ask given that we just recently released the pronouns update. I'll try to be very transparent with this one. This is due to technical limitations. Oh, interesting. As stated above, mechanically, non-binary Sims don't yet exist in The Sims 4. You still have to make a binary gender selection for your Sim at creation, regardless of pronoun settings. We hope that we've shown our commitment to improving representation of gender identities with features such as gender customization, which allows you to modify physical frame, clothing preferences, pregnancy, and toilet use options. We look at the pronouns update as another important step toward better representation of non-binary genders. But we also acknowledge that pronouns are not the same thing as gender identities. So apparently the reason why we have 2 genders at this moment is because the programming language is old, I guess. And I guess when The Sims 4 was made, like the base game, they hadn't taken into account other genders other than male and female. How do I woohoo with a Sim that isn't interested in romance with anyone? Super important question, since woohoo is typically gated behind romance. To better reflect aromantic Sims and a greater variety of lifestyles, we've added the ability for young adult Sims and older to ask close friends to be woohoo partners. Oh, so that's going to be a new thing, I guess, woohoo partners. If they accept, you can now perform woohoo without the romance prerequisites. Stress on the if they accept part. As with many socials of this nature, it can fail and lead to an awkward conversation afterward. Again, a reflection of real life. I want to again acknowledge that these topics are complex and full of nuance. Absolutely, amen, 100%. We consider this a version 1.0 and are absolutely looking forward to seeing what further tools we might add to allow players to tell a broader range of stories. So it looks like they still have a lot to go and they've acknowledged that and they're going to try and move forward with this. So that's good. Can I manually change my Sim sexual orientation after creation? Yes. You can use the change Sim interaction on a mirror or dresser to access CAS and change any of the settings manually. Where do I find this setting? In CAS, under the ellipses menu beneath the gender creation. So this is the gender selection area and this is the ellipses, the dots. That's what they're called, ellipses. And there's a tab there called sexual orientation. How will this impact my game if I don't change the sexual orientation settings? If you change none of the sexual orientation settings, your Sim will romantically behave as they currently do prior to the release of this feature. Sims prior to sexual orientation essentially use the above settings. So the current settings of the Sims now, before the sexual orientation feature comes out, have the Sims romantically attracted to neither men or women, yes to exploring romantically, and interested in woohoo with both men and women. They have no inherent attraction to a specific gender. They can have their attraction shift through gameplay, and they will woohoo with any gender. This is still the default state for a new Sim. So if you're happy with the way your Sims are acting now, then you don't have to do anything. Your Sims will continue acting the same way. Can I turn this feature off? No. While we try to give players the option to toggle certain gameplay features, LGBTQIA+ identities are a fact of life and not a toggle to be switched on and off. Thank you. Absolutely 100% agree with this statement. In conclusion, we're thrilled to let you all experience this feature for yourselves. Please share your thoughts with us on socials as we continue building toward a more inclusive future together. We're thrilled to let you all experience this feature for yourselves. Please share your thoughts with us on socials as we continue building toward a more inclusive future together. And that's it. That's the article. Personally, for me, I really like this new feature. I like how it gives Simmers more options on how their Sims will act. And it's very reflective of real life, frighteningly so, which I love. But what about you guys? Do you think you'd like this new feature? And if so, what kind of stories do you think you'd like to tell? Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you so much for hanging out. If you found this video informative, please like this video and subscribe to my channel to see more of my stuff. If you could leave a comment, that would be greatly appreciated. And since we're all excited about the new Sims 4 high school pack that's coming out soon, check out this video to see some high school years news. Oh, and sorry if I sound nasally, I'm still a little bit sick, so...